What's up, guys? This is Brent with Western Equipment. Now let's go ahead and start by breaking down the model number on this John Deere 5067E. Now our first digit here, 5, this is going to be the family of tractor or the series of tractor indicator. So right here in the 5, we're going to have tractors in this category from 50 all the way up into the 100 horsepowers and varying different trim levels. Now the next 3 digits here, these are going to be your engine horsepower indicator. So for instance, this model here is a 067, which means it's going to have 67 horsepower at the engine. Now the last letter here is going to be our trim level indicator. So like a lot of John Deere equipment, this is going to indicate the type of features you're going to get on this machine. So we can have E's, M's, or R's. E's are going to be your more standard level equipment with the least amount of features. The M is going to be more of your mid-spec model, and then your R is going to be your top trim level with all of the features that are available in that series of tractor. Now let's go ahead and pop the hood on this tractor. So over here on the left-hand side, we're going to have this silver bar that sticks out here. We simply have to pull out on that bar, raise up on the hood, and just like that, it's going to go up on its own and stay up on its own, as we're going to have gas shocks on either side of this hood to make sure it stays up and in position whenever we're having to do any type of maintenance on this tractor. So like I said before, this is going to be a 67 horsepower engine. This is a John Deere engine that's on these machines. Once you move into the 5 series of tractor, these are all going to be John Deere engines. When we're down below that, we are using a Yanmar engine on the 4s down through the 1 series tractor. Now, some of the maintenance points that are going to be on this engine, starting over here on the left-hand side, the main thing that we're going to have to look at here is going to be our 2 fuel filters right down here. Then once we move to the front of this tractor, we're going to have our cooling system here. So right on top is going to be our overflow reservoir for our radiator. Then right in front of the radiator here, we are going to have a screen that pulls out that we need to make sure and be cleaning, as this is what's going to catch all of that debris, dust, grass, things like that that will build up and possibly cause the machine to overheat if we're not taking care of that. So very easy to remove that and clean it. Then right here in front, we are going to have our air filter assembly. Very, very easy to get to right there in front. Now, once we move over to the right-hand side of the tractor, this is where we're going to have all of our engine oil maintenance points. So over here, we're going to have our dipstick. We're also going to have our engine oil cap here, and you'll notice that both of these are going to be color-coded yellow to help and remind you that this is for the engine oil. And then right in front of that, we are going to have our engine oil filter. Now, whenever we're talking about hydraulics, our hydraulic oil fill is going to be at the rear of the machine, which I'll show a little bit more about here in a minute. The sight glass is also going to be back there. But if we look over here on the right-hand side, right tucked inside that right rear wheel, here is going to be where our hydraulic filter is. So if you're doing all the maintenance on your machine yourself, then you know now where all of those filters and fill points are located. Now over here on the right hand side, a couple of things to point out. First is going to be the large loader frames that you see on this tractor. So on this 5067E, you do have the option of getting this tractor loader ready from the factory. That's going to include the frames and your choice of mid selective control valves. Now the selective control valves are going to be the hydraulic valves that run your loader. So you have the option of either going with a 2-function remote or a 3-function remote. So what this means is a 2-function remote is going to be the standard set of valves that is going to either raise and lower your loader and also curl the bucket. And if we go with a 3-function remote, that is going to add a 3rd valve, allowing you to add attachments to that loader that need a 3rd function. So say we're running such things as a grapple or a 4-in-1 bucket, you can get that valve from the factory as an option, or you could later have it installed after you get the machine. Now also over here on the right hand side is going to be our battery box. This is going to be nice and protected, encased by a heavy grade steel here to make sure and keep that battery protected whenever you're out in the elements. Now a lot of machines will have this battery tucked underneath the hood at the very front of the machine, but on the 5E series, this 5067E, it's going to be over here on the right hand side. Now at the rear of the tractor, we've got a lot going on back here. Is on these tractors, this is where a lot of the work is going to be done. So starting here at the top, we are going to have our fuel tank. This is going to be a 21-gallon fuel tank. You're going to have your fill here at the rear, which is nice That way, if we have any spillage, it runs off the rear of the tractor and doesn't cause that sticky film that diesel will cause on your machine. So moving down right up here, we're going to have a little black knob on top. Now this is going to be where your hydraulic fill is. And then if we move down here by our PTO shaft, here is where our hydraulic sight gauge is going to be. Right in front of our hydraulic fill is going to be our standard set of single rear remotes. So just like we have the option of the mid remotes to have a hydraulic function, you're going to have standard one set here at the rear, and then the option of adding a second set if needed. Now to the left of that is going to be our 7-prong plug here. So if you have those types of implements that need that electronic connection, you do have that 7-pin plug here. You're going to have a category 2 3-point hitch that is going to be adjustable. So we have an adjustable top link here that we can move up or down depending on the position that you need it. Then we're also going to have the adjustable rear links as well. Now you can turn these into floating links by simply switching over these pins, turning them over to where they run up and down instead of sideways to give more of a float to your 3-point here. And then we're also going to have these adjustable sway links here on this 3-point to make sure and keep those from swaying into our tires or from swaying too far from one side or the other. Now at the rear also, we're going to have the standard 540 PTO shaft here, and then we're also going to have an adjustable drawbar here at the rear to make sure that you can telescope that out or push that in to make sure and fit those rear implements that may have to run off of a drawbar. Now over on the left hand side is going to be where your point of entry is. You're going to have a 2-step system, also these grab handles to grab onto, but you're also going to have a toolbox on board mounted right here on your loader frames to be able to add in whatever tools that you may want to keep on board with you on this machine. So once we get up into the operator station, first thing I'd point out, very nice rubber floor mat all the way across, pretty low hump here in the middle where your drive functions are going through the tractor, so it makes for a very wide open, nice floorboard, very nice layout in this tractor. So whenever we're talking about the controls on this machine, we'll start over here on the left. First thing that we're going to have is a yellow capped lever over here. This is going to be our selector for either the 540 PTO or the 540E PTO. Now the difference between these two is 540 regular is going to be able to run your machine at the highest RPMs. So if we're using those rear attachments that require a very high RPM at our PTO, you can put that in the regular 540. Then if we're doing such things as maybe running a sprayer at the rear that runs off our PTO, or doing some type of mowing where we're going to be going for a long distance here, using this machine for hours on end, we can put this in 540E, which represents economy mode, that's going to be able to let you run that PTO at the optimum speed and reduce the gear ratio to be able to save fuel on your machine. Now moving right in front of that is going to be our first of our 2 levers that go to our transmission controls. Now on this machine specifically, we're going to have a 12x12 power reverser transmission. Now also on this machine, you can get a 9x3 sync shuttle transmission as well. The difference is that on the 1212, you're going to have 12 forward gears and 12 reverse gears. On the 9.3, you're going to have 9 forward gears and 3 reverse gears. Now also on the 1212, we're going to have a power reverser up here on the steering column that's going to allow you to shift this machine from forward to neutral to reverse right here on the column while staying in gear on either side. With that 9.3, anytime we're needing to change direction, we're going to have to clutch that machine and then change our gears to be able to get either in that forward or reverse gear. So over here on the left, this is going to be our range selector where we're going to have A, B, or C. And then as we move forward here, we're going to have our clutch pedal over here on the left hand side. Now moving up onto the steering column here, we're going to have a button over here on the left that has the 2 circles spinning here. This is going to be so we can cycle through the different functions here on our display. So if we hit that button, first off, it should show up machine hours. You can hit that to show your mile per hour. You hit that again to see at what speed your PTO is running. And then once we hit it again, we're going to go back to that engine hours. Now, right below that button is going to be our turn signal switch. So that is going to come standard on this machine. So as you can see right here behind me, we do have this set of lights that's going to have our running lights. It's also going to have our turn signals as well. And then right by that, we're also going to have a working light, which I'll show that switch right over here to the right of our display panel. So right now we have the switch in the the off position. We can turn that to where it has our hazards on. We can turn it again to where it has our hazards and our working lights on, hazards and our brights on, and then also our working lights and our headlights all at the same time. Now, moving back up here to our display, what we're going to have here is we are going to have the fuel gauge right here. We're going to have our RPM gauge, and then also our engine temperature gauge right up here to the right. And then back behind, we're going to have a bunch of lights here that will light up and give us different warnings or let us know different things that are going on with the tractor. Right now, we can see that the N is lit up, showing that the tractor is in neutral. Now, right below our light switch is going to be where our key switch is. This is just going to be your standard key switch with the off position, the on position, and the start. Then to the left of that is going to be our adjustable steering column. So this does have tilt steering, so we can pull out on that lever and then pull our steering wheel down or raise it up depending on what's comfortable for us. And then below that is going to be where we can get to our fuse panel right down here at the bottom of the steering column. Now over here to the right on the floorboard, first thing that we'd see over to our right is our brake pedals. Now this is going to have the 2 brake pedal system, which is the turning brake system. Now it also has a latch here on top where you can latch these together where your brakes are going to work simultaneously. But if you do unlatch those, you have the option of braking one of our rear wheels at a time. So if we were to push on the left pedal and brake our left wheel, that's going to make our machine turn to the left. If we hit our right brake pedal, that is going to make our machine turn right. So if you're in those type of situations where you need to make very tight turns where the steering wheel just isn't quite enough, you do have those turning brakes to assist in that as well. Now to the right of our brake pedal, we are going to have a floor throttle pedal right down here. So if you are used to using a floor throttle, maybe it's just more comfortable because that's what you use on your vehicle, you have that on this tractor as well. And then right back behind your right foot is going to be a pedal that we would hit with our heel, and this is going to be our differential lock pedal. So the differential lock is going to be used to lock in those rear wheels together in case we get in those heavy sticky situations where we need the maximum pulling power there at the rear. Then you can lock in your differential to make sure and gain that at the rear. Now moving up here onto our right hand controls, first thing that we notice to our right is going to be our loader joystick. Now if you get a machine that is not loader ready, you may not have this, but if it is loader ready or has a loader on it, your joystick is right here. One thing on this joystick that we want to point out is the joystick lock. Right here, it's going to be this little tab where we can either pull out on that or push that in. Whenever we push that in, that's going to lock the loader lever where we can't bump it in case we have that loader up in a position and need it to stay at a certain height. We can lock that in so that we don't bump the joystick, or we can pull that out to give our joystick the full range of motion to be able to use that loader for whatever function that we're doing. Now, right behind that is going to be our gear selector. So along with our range selector of A, B, and C, we're going to have a gear selector over here with 1, 2, 3, 4, and park. 1, 2, 3, and 4 on our gears, and then 1, 2, 3 in ranges. 3 times 4 is going to be 12. So that's what's going to give us our 12 forward and our 12 reverse. So whether you're using A, B, or C, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then once we use our reverser here to either go forward or reverse, that's what gives us the 12 forward, 12 reverse. I know I'm hitting on this transmission a lot, but whenever we're talking about driving one of these tractors, it's very important that you understand how these gears and shifters work. Now, moving back behind our gear shifter here, we're going to have 3 levers. The first one here that's closest to the seat is going to be for your rear hydraulic remotes. So whenever we are using those rear remotes, whether we're pushing fluid to that piece of equipment, pulling it from it, or if we're raising something up, raising it down, this is going to be the lever that we're going to use. Right next to that is going to be our downforce lever for our 3-point, and then over to the right of that, closest to the fender, is going to be your 3-point raise and lower. It's also going to have this little knob here that we can change the position of to make sure and lock that into place. So if we're using an implement that needs to go back down into the ground or lowered down to a certain height every time, we can lock that little knob into place, making sure that we return to that same height every time. And then right back behind that, right behind our seat, Also having to do with our 3-point is going to be our rate of drop knob here. So we can either tighten this up or loosen this to allow our 3-point to either lower faster or lower slower, depending on what type of application that we're doing. Now moving up here on the right hand, controls up on the fender. Right here we're going to have our throttle control. So this is going to control our engine speed. Once we're in that gear, going forward, going in reverse, we can adjust that throttle here, or like I mentioned before, we can use that foot throttle as well. Then we're going to have 3 buttons here back by our cup holder. The first one here is going to be a push knob, so we can either pull this knob out or push it in. Whenever we pull this knob out, this is going to start our rear PTO. Whenever we push this in, it's going to stop that PTO. Then right next to that, we're going to have a button with the same symbol on it, except with this little square. Now this is going to be if we need to use this tractor and use our PTO in a stationary mode. So if we're using this machine to run something off of the PTO, some type of implement, but we need to be off of the tractor and have that PTO still run, we can engage this button here to keep that PTO running whenever we are off of the machine. And then next to that is going to be our 4-wheel drive engagement button. So if we need to engage that 4-wheel drive, we're simply going to push up on that rocker switch. Disengage, we're going to push it down. Now the seat here is going to be adjustable, so we can adjust it forward or backward with a lever here to make sure that this fits whatever operator that may be running this tractor. So now I'll go ahead and start this tractor up, let you hear how it sounds. Now this is going to be at low idle here. This is at about 1200 RPMs. This is at about 1600 RPMs where we would run our 540E PTO mode. And then right here is going to be 2100 RPMs where we would need the tractor if we were running that 540 PTO for a high speed operation. Now, last but not least, let's talk a few specs, warranty, and price. Now, specs wise on this machine, a big one. We know that we have 67 horsepower here at the engine, but what are we looking at here at the rear? So on an open station machine, we're gonna have 53 horsepower at the rear. On a cab machine, we're gonna have 49 horsepower. So when we're looking at rear attachments on these machines, we need to know those numbers to make sure that we are getting the right size attachments for the rear of this machine. Now, as far as length goes, we're gonna be about 143 inches long on this machine, and we also know that we have a 21-gallon fuel tank here at the rear. Now, as far as warranty goes, you're gonna have a 2-year, 2,000-hour bumper-to-bumper warranty on this machine, and also a 5-year, 2,000-hour powertrain warranty, which is gonna be for your engine and transmission. So that way you know that if you have issues with that engine or transmission, you've at least got that 5-year, 2,000 hours. Now, with that bumper-to-bumper warranty, you can always add additional warranty through the Power Guard system. So make sure whenever you're going and looking at one of these machines and possibly buying one that you are talking to your local dealership about that extended warranty if that's something that you're looking for. Now, as far as price goes, the starting price on one of these machines, base and list price, is going to be around $31,000. Now, keep in mind that that's not going to include such things as the loader or any other additional equipment. So whenever you're pricing one of these machines, make sure and talk to your local dealer to make sure that you are getting that right price. And by right price, I mean making sure and looking for any types of incentives that you may qualify for or any types of discounts also that may be available. And also looking into finance options. There are going to be finance options available on these tractors. That's why I always recommend that you go and talk to your local dealership to make sure that you are getting this machine spec'd out how you want it and also get that price to the point that fits your budget. So guys, I hope this video helps you out. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, we just ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also guys, if you're needing any parts for your John Deere equipment, make sure to go check us out at 247parts.com. And as always guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.